The alarm in Bay 7 had been blaring for 43 seconds before Security Officer Threk arrived, his four eyes scanning the recreation chamber with mounting concern. What he found made all four eyes widen in synchronized horror. A human, the new integration specialist, if he remembered correctly, stood in the center of the padded training arena, her uniform torn in at least 7 places, angry red scratches crisscrossing her arms, neck, and one particularly nasty gash across her left cheek. Blood, unmistakably human blood, seeped from multiple wounds. Surrounding her were 12 Vraken cubs. Their razor-sharp claws still extended, their fur bristled with excitement, their tri-forked tails swishing in barely contained enthusiasm. By the eternal void, Threk breathed, his translator struggling to convey his distress. What happened here? The human, Elena, according to her badge, turned to face him with what could only be described as a grin. An actual grin. Despite the blood, despite the obvious pain she must be experiencing. "Oh, hey there," Elena said cheerfully, wiping a streak of blood from her jawline. "Everything's fine. Just finishing up today's session." Session? Threk's security training kicked in. He raised his comlink. "Medical emergency in Bay 7. Human injured. Possible hostile—" Wait! Elena waved her scratched hands frantically. "It's not what it looks like." One of the cubs, smaller than the others with distinctive silver markings along its spine, bounded forward. Its translator collar chirped to life in a young, enthusiastic voice. "We were training." Threk's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Training? I'm Rue," the cub announced proudly, puffing out its chest. "Elena is teaching us proper hunting technique, see?" The cub demonstrated by swiping at the air with retracted claws, mimicking the motion with surprising precision. "You were hunting the human?" Threk felt his primary heart skip a beat. No, Elena laughed, then winced as the motion pulled at one of the deeper scratches. "They're learning controlled engagement. Your species has those retractable claws for a reason, right? The cubs need to learn how to use them in non-lethal situations." "Non-lethal?" Threk gestured at her injuries. "You're covered in lacerations." "Surface wounds," Elena dismissed with a shrug. "Humans heal pretty fast. Well, fast by most species standards. I checked with medical before starting the program." She pulled out a datapad, quickly scrolling through authorization forms. "See, Dr. Zith approved it. Said, and I quote, 'Humans possess remarkable regenerative capabilities and pain tolerance. If the human specialist is willing, I see no medical reason to prohibit such training.'" Threk took the datapad with trembling appendages, scanning the document. It was legitimate. Signed, dated, notarized. His security protocols were technically satisfied, but his personal horror was not. "But why?" he finally asked. Rue chirped up again, clearly eager to explain. "Because humans are durable training partners." The cub's translator carried unmistakable excitement. "Our parents are too big, and they won't let us practice real combat because we might hurt each other. But Elena says humans are perfectly sized threatening prey and that she played rougher games in elementary school." "What's in elementary school?" Another cub piped up. "Tell you later, Kess," Elena said, ruffling the cub's head fur. Threk watched as the human casually interacted with creatures whose species was classified as threat level 7, apex predators on their homeworld, with bite force exceeding 4,000 psi and claws that could slice through standard hull plating given enough time. "Let me understand this correctly," Threk said slowly, his translator working overtime to convey his bewilderment. "You volunteered to be, what? A living training dummy for juvenile Vraken? Training partner?" Elena corrected gently. "And yeah, basically. Look, I did my research. Vraken cubs go through a critical development phase between ages 3 and 5, where they need to learn hunting discipline. On their homeworld, they'd practice on small prey animals. But here on the station, they don't have that opportunity. Without proper training, they develop behavioral issues, aggression problems, anxiety." She gestured to the cubs who had formed a loose circle around them, listening with rapt attention. The station's integration program wasn't addressing it. The Vraken parents were getting frustrated, the cubs were getting restless, and I thought, why not? Humans are tough. We evolved as persistence hunters on a death world. A few scratches won't kill me. A few? Threk counted at least 30 visible lacerations. "Okay, more than a few," Elena admitted. "But watch this." She turned to the cubs. "Rue Kess Formation Delta. Immediately, the cubs arranged themselves in a specific pattern. Elena called out commands in what Threk recognized as Vrakan hunting language, commands she shouldn't have been able to pronounce with her human vocal structure, yet somehow managed. The cubs moved with coordinated precision, demonstrating strike patterns, restraint techniques, and tactical positioning that would make adult Vrakan warriors proud. They've learned more in 3 weeks than the previous program taught them in 6 months, Elena said quietly. Because I can give them real feedback. I can tell them when they're pulling their strikes correctly, when their claw angles are right for disabling without killing. I can survive their mistakes while they learn. Threk was silent for a long moment watching the demonstration. Finally, he lowered his comm link. You humans, he said, his translator carrying a mix of awe and exasperation, are absolutely insane. Elena's grin widened. Yeah, we get that a lot. But effective, Threk added grudgingly. He looked at the cubs, noting their improved discipline, their controlled movements, their obvious respect for their human instructor. Continue your training, but please, for the sake of my cardiac organs, warn security next time before the blood starts showing. Deal, Elena said, extending a scratched hand. Threk regarded the hand, a human gesture of agreement. He'd learned, and carefully shook it with his primary manipulator. Mindful of his own strength, as he left Base 7, he heard Rue's excited voice behind him. Can we learn the pounce technique now? The one where we calculate trajectory? Absolutely, Elena replied. But remember, claws retracted until the final moment. Control is everything. Threk added a note to Elena's file. Human integration specialist employing unorthodox but effective training methods with Vrakan cubs. Potential program expansion recommended. Also, schedule psychological evaluation. Anyone this comfortable bleeding might need assessment. Then, after a moment's consideration, he deleted the last sentence. Among humans, he was learning, this was apparently just called Tuesday.